Hello, today we are going to look at the latest version of the Red Hat Linux distribution, the one that's not Red Hat Enterprise Linux and the one that existed before Fedora Linux. From the time when the Red Hat company was selling CD sets of Red Hat 9 Linux operating system to end users, to just mere humans, not to enterprises. So that happened in 2003. The operating system name is Red Hat 9, codename Shrike. So let's get the ISO files and install in a QEMU virtual machine. So this is DistroWatch. I've searched on Google DistroWatch Red Hat, and we can see that the same page in DistroWatch is used for both Red Hat Enterprise Linux and Red Hat. So until 2003, there's Red Hat, and then they put Red Hat Enterprise Linux starting with version 2.1 on the same page. We can look at the URL for the ISO. It says FTP, and let's see if we can navigate there. We can't because the FTP protocol is not available anymore in Firefox. So I've searched on Google for this part, and it's not called archive.download.redhat.com, it's called legacy.redhat.com. i386, and there are 3 CD-ROM images, disk 1, 2, and 3. So these contain binary packages, RPMs, and the installer. And then there are 3 additional CD-ROM images, ISO files, which contain the sRPMs. So these are binary packages format with extension .rpm. And this is the source code behind those RPM files, which is sRPM files. I have downloaded these 3 files. And now let's see how we'll install it in Virt Manager. File, new virtual machine, forward, browse, Shrike disk 1, not detected. What should we put in here? So this is a year 2003 vintage, which means not 64-bit, but just 32-bit, probably SMP. How do we get a very old template? RAM. Maybe it knows 4 gigabytes. CPUs probably it knows SMP, so let's go with, I don't know, 4. Let's go with 14. And the name is RedHat 9. Okay, so the older motherboard, correct? BIOS. vCPUs. IDE. Great. IDE. I'm not sure if it knows SATA. Should know because by the year 2004 there existed such a thing. IDE. And network interface card Intel 1000. If not, we're going to go with 8139. Okay, tablet probably not. Let's begin the installation and then we'll see. Hopefully we can install it and hopefully we can move the mouse around. So enter is graphical user mode installation. To begin testing the CD media before installation, choose skip. Anaconda. And now let's see if we have mouse or not. No, we don't, because we have the USB tablet, so I'll be back. I have deleted the virtual machine, I have recreated the virtual machine from scratch, and now I'm trying to replace the tablet with a USB mouse. Let's see how we do that. Remove. Yes. Input. USB mouse. So I couldn't install the operating system Red Hat 9 using Word Manager with USB tablet. I could not install it with a USB mouse. I could not install it with a PS2 mouse. So with USB tablet and USB mouse, there's no mouse movement at all. With PS2 mouse, the mouse movement is erratic and only on the edges of the screen. Next up, I will install Word Manager. I will install the virtualization software Oracle VM VirtualBox, and I will create the Red Hat Linux 9 virtual machine in there. So I'm using the operating system Ubuntu 24.04. I'm installing the VirtualBox software. The application finished installing. Let's remove this one. Delete all files. File, machine new. Let's select the ISO image. So Shrike 1. Name Red Hat 9. Detects that it's Red Hat 32-bit Linux. Skip unattended installation. What is that? Next. Four gigabytes, as many vCPUs as possible. VirtualBox has this limitation where it recommends that you use less than half of the CPU cores that exist on the virtual machine, on the hardware machine. So if in this case I have 16 CPU threads, it recommends that I don't use more than 8 vCPUs for the virtual machine. Virtual hard disk, we have enough storage. Okay. So we'll use a virtual hard disk, which is not pre-allocated with full size. Red Hat 9. The directory where it puts the files is in my home directory. No UEFI. And normal start. enter in the bootloader. It booted from the ISO, from the CD-ROM drive. Mouse does not work in this text user interface question. Skip. No hard drives have been found because it's using SATA. So let me create this virtual machine without any templates. How do I exit? Right control, it says in here. Machine shutdown, can send, close, power off. Let's see if we can edit the virtual machine. So Red Hat 9 Linux, Red Hat 32-bit. No floppies. The IX, PS2 mouse. Okay, looks okay in here. CPUs. Display. Storage. So the CD-ROM controller should be IDE, not SATA. And we'll delete this one. How do we do that? And create the ID in here. How do we do that? Can we select this one? Let's see if we can use the already created virtual hard disk. This one, Red Hat 9 VDI. ACH 97. Network address translation, which means we can connect to the internet. Let's try to start. Enter. The mouse is captured. With the right control, I can uncapture it. Skip. Okay, the mouse doesn't move okay because it has more acceleration than the hardware mouse, but it's better. So let's go next. English, US, PS2. So in here it says that it knows USB mice. But I couldn't prove such a thing. Personal desktop, workstation, server, or custom. Let's see what custom is. Software package selection. So in server mode, it might allow you to not install any graphical user interface, so a desktop environment. In workstation, I guess it installs additional software. So let's go with personal desktop. automatic partition. Would you like to initialize this drive? Yes. Remove all Linux partitions, remove all partitions. Next. Dev HDA, yes. It creates a boot partition, a slash partition, and a swap partition. Probably doesn't know ext4, so it uses ext3, but that's good enough for me. Next. Group bootloader in /dev/hda. Yes. HDA2, probably HDA1 is the CD-ROM. ETH0 DHCP. Firewalls, no firewall please. Additional languages, English USA. America, New York, Eastern Time. Root password. Password too short. So what if it's too short? Let me press next 3 times and everything's going to be okay. Root password accepted. Next. So it's going to install the Office suite, which is OpenOffice. It's going to install the web browser, which is probably not Firefox, but Mozilla suite, so the predecessor of SeaMonkey. Email evolution and desktop shell GNOME. Let's go with the default. I never use GNOME, I always use KDE, but in this case, let's do it like this. Accept the current package list. Click next to begin installing RedHat Linux. RedHat Blue Curve. So in both Red Hat 8 and 9, there's this effort to unify the two branches of Linux graphical user interface applications, the ones which are based on GTK and the ones which are based in Qt. They do that by installing a theme for KDE applications, for Qt applications, for GTK applications, for GNOME applications, such that all of these applications look as similar as possible. Red Hat Blue Curve. Please insert disk 2 to continue. How do we do that? Right control to exit mouse grab. Devices, optical devices. Choose a disk image. Choose a disk file like this. Okay. Disk 2. And now disk 2 is inserted into the CD-ROM drive. Let's grab the mouse. Okay. Please insert disk 3. Mouse and grab right control. Devices, optical drives. Choose a disk file. Shrike disk 3. Open. Let's check. Yes. Mouse grab. Okay, I would like to create a boot floppy disk. No, thank you. Graphical interface configuration. I wouldn't know what to select in here. VESA generic. Okay. Unprobed monitor. True color depth 24-bit plus the transparency channel, hopefully. So it's 32-bit. And screen resolution, we can't go any better than this. Remove any installation media and then exit to reboot. So right control, devices, optical drives, it's already removed. And exit. GNU grub, version pre version 1. The SMP is not selected by default. Big mem is more than 4 gigabytes of random access memory. Should probably go with the default, but SMP certainly looks intriguing. Let's boot first with the default option and we'll see if it recognizes more than one CPU thread. And we're booting in graphical user interface user interface part of the first run. Okay, welcome. We still don't have a Linux user account apart from the built-in root user. So let's create one. The password is too short. Okay. Enable network time protocol. Probably be selected by default. But who knows if the URLs are still valid. Play a test sound. Oh, I locked the UI. Did you hear the sound? Hopefully, I don't know. Yes, I want to register with RHN. Additional CDs. RedHat Linux documentation CD, installation CD, and additional CDs. This step might be needed because probably I'm not exactly sure if there still exists package repositories for this version of Red Hat if you want to install additional RPM packages. Okay, this is the desktop manager, probably GTM. Very enterprise looking. And we're inside a GNOME that looks like KDE. Very much like KDE. Let's see if we can make the screen a bit bigger. Yeah, we can with full screen mode. Go back to window mode with the host key, which is right control on the keyboard, and then F. Okay, but that's not what I wanted. How about this one? Okay, let's see what we can do in here. So the operating system is configured such that it can be used by regular users which are not inside of a SMB or enterprise environment. The software that you would expect is pre-installed, such as a web browser. Let's see if we have SMP first. How do we search for things? Okay. Whoa. Okay, so the default Linux kernel that's offered by RedHat Linux probably has all of the features, which is SMP, which means hyperthreading, more than one CPU thread, more than one CPU core. I can see in here I've allocated 7 virtual CPUs to the virtual machine, and all of them, 8 virtual CPUs, all of them are seen by the operating system. And maybe also support for more than 4 gigabytes of random access memory. There existed a ton of server grade hardware that had more than 4 gigabytes in the year 2003 of random access memory. Okay. EF. There's a swap partition. No LSBR key. Swap partition, which is 2 gigabytes, and then memory 4 gigabytes, and what else do we have in here? the mount table ext3 slash proc slash bus slash USB dev fs slash boot and dev pts and tmp fs for dev shared memory. rpm minus qa less sort. Arts is the KD sound system. ATK part of GNOME. Bash. Bonobo activation for something similar to Windows DCOM, so out of process components. CDR DAO, CDR records, CDDA for optical discs. Chromium, probably not the web browser, but I'm not sure what, probably the game Chromium. Let's see. Do we have tabs in here? Yes, we do. The shortcut is correct, Ctrl-Shift-T. Yes, Chromium BSU. How do we exit this thing? Escape. Escape. I'm not sure how we exit because I cannot see the... Okay, probably like that. I couldn't see the entire screen. The minimum resolution was a bit bigger than what's offered by the combination Red Hat 9 plus VirtualBox. Okay. There's full C, C++ toolchains, compilers, standard libraries, headers, etc. GNOME Control Center. Caps, there's full printing support. Dia, wow, why would you pre-install Dia? The GNOME diagramming tool. GTK1, judging by the icons. So these are the icons from GNOME 1, not from GNOME 2. Okay, how do we draw this thing? I don't know. And a circle. Yay. Just a color selector. Okay. Alexander Larsson, a important name in the Linux history. And James Henstridge. Okay. So this is the unitary theme, which is applied to even GTK1 applications, GTK2 applications. I'm not sure what version of Qt there's here. We'll find out soon. Emacs. Emacs installed out of the box. and in graphical user interface mode even. Yes. Okay. Eye of GNOME. This is the image viewer. eSound, the sound daemon from GNOME, and the one from KDE was Arts, or audio mixing, at least. Okay, Evolution, the mail client. I have never used Evolution. File for detecting types of files. File roller, the graphical user interface application for compressing and uncompressing files. Font config, free type, free sieve, games. Wow. Free cell. So there's at least a solitaire alternative for the people that use Red Hat Linux 9 at work. gedit, the text editor. So this is how a GTK2 application looks like. It doesn't know how to use half of the screen. Let's have these two applications side by side, Dia and gedit. So gedit GTK2 and Dia GTK1 with different icon library. In here, the quit button is a door with a chevron, whereas in here, exit is a door with an arrow and a new file icon from the year 2000. Whereas this is with a plus sign. Similar applications, GNOME centered. This one is an actual GNOME application, gedit. This one, I'm not sure if it's a GNOME or a GTK, just a GTK application. And the theming is indeed similar. Let's see how a focused button looks like. So the caret is different in these two cases. Let's see a scroll bar. How do we do that? In settings. File preferences. The same up-down arrow. Yeah, so it's a chevron with a triangle inside. and tabs. Where do we see tabs? Control T, new. The tabs are also the same. So it's the Red Hat Blue Curve theme applied to as many graphical user interface applications as possible, to as many graphical user interface toolkits as possible. But then none of the application developers are happy about this. The Qt application developers have never actually tested their application with this theme. The GNOME developers have seen this theme because the GNOME project is a bit aligned with Red Hat, but still this is not the default GNOME theme. System settings. Where do we change the theme? Display. Red Hat config x386. Wow. Don't say. Display settings changed. I might have messed up the virtual machine, but let's log out and log in. How do we do that? Scale 100. Log out. And we're back to the same resolution. Not a problem. But they're making efforts to make things look like Windows. This looks very much like, I know, Windows 98 second edition. Including this advanced tab. Okay, this is from a time where the X server did not auto-configure. When Linux did not auto-detect hardware, you needed things like devfs, you needed things like kudzu, like discover. So these command line applications and functionality, which allows you to probe for the hardware. Why would you do that? Because at the installation time of the Linux operating system, the hardware was probed. So the Linux operating system installer did look at what hardware is available and then configured that hardware. But then if after using the operating system for a while, you start changing its hardware, like I know, you plug in new USB things, you add another SATA drive or another floppy disk, another DVD writer or something, then does the operating system actually allow you to use this new hardware? Does something actually probe for hardware, for instance, at least once at every computer reboot? That was the scope of Project Utopia. Okay. What else is there? Let's see what this icon with lock keys is. can give this user this authorization without typing the administrator password again. Okay, what about this one? RHEL Red Hat Network. I said I did not want to authenticate. Probably the server part is not working. It should not work, hopefully. Let's see the web browser. So the first time it took a while to actually start. So this is the Mozilla suite, the thing that we in the Linux operating system did use from the year 2000 when the Mozilla source code was liberated until Mozilla Firefox, Mozilla Phoenix, or whatever the name of the thing was. Firebird was released, which Mozilla Firefox only has a web browser, whereas Mozilla Suite, which is now continued by the SeaMonkey project, has more than a web browser. This is the web browser, which is this button in the status bar, which is called Navigator. But then you also had a email client, which would be similar to Mozilla Thunderbird, and also a news reader. There was also an HTML editor with WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. And then there was an address book and another thing, which is Chatzilla, which is a JavaScript only IRC client. We're now in mail mode, so let's switch back to web browser mode. Really important to have a ton of useless Chrome in web browsers. You remember the Internet Explorer 6 with many useless toolbars installed by spyware software and antiviruses and Google search toolbar, etc. So let's clean that up. We do that. View, show, hide. This guy, navigation, personal toolbar is the bookmarks. Okay. Another way of showing useless things is the sidebar. There was this search sidebar. Let's search for SeaMonkey. Yahoo logo. So Netscape is now Yahoo. Demos used to be the address book that humans actually did write. So sort of like an white pages with most of the companies inside of a country grouped by categories in a tree. I'm not sure if demos exists anymore. Let's see Google. Well, Google still works. That's important. And in here, the search results were presented in the sidebar. Probably it read the page, did some scrapping on it, and presented the results as a tree, which, since the source of the Google search results page has changed, probably that's why the search results are not presented in the sidebar. I'm not sure what related used to do. Probably Google search similar pages. Let's search in here. Control A does not work. Netscape, the default search engine. It's interesting. Let's switch to Google. This is the way I used to search, up arrow key and then press enter. This is the spinner. You could install additional spinners. This is the theming and the icons. The icons are too graphical. They don't blend into any operating system, so you would usually install a different icon pack or icon theme. There used to be a way of downloading extensions. Two themes are installed by default. The classic one, really, and modern. Very 3D, totally doesn't blend to any operating system, doesn't respect the color scheme of any operating system. So people would install their favorite theme and then an update of the web browser might appear and your theme might not be supported. So it was I'm not sure why they made theming such a mandatory thing with Mozilla suite. Okay, so there existed a web browser. One which was pretty state of the art. It was the only possibilities were there was not much so many Mac OS users in the year 2003. Almost everybody was on Windows. 2003, that means Windows 98 second edition if your hardware is not good enough, Windows XP if your hardware is good enough, which means at least 1 gigabyte of RAM, 1 megabyte of RAM. What? I'm not sure. One gigabyte of RAM. Yeah, something like that. And everybody was using the same web browser, which is Internet Explorer 6 SP1, 32-bit with ActiveX plugins. And the rest of the people which refused to use that thing had the choice between Opera, which had tabs, Mozilla Suite, which had tabs, and was cross-platform. Opera was also running on Linux and Windows. And then the other option was the rendering engine from the KDE community, which is KHTML, KJS, Conqueror web browser. The one that then became Apple Safari and Google Chromium engine. Okay, a Office suite is installed by default. The one that was the Office suite of the time, the free software open Office suite of the time. It was openoffice.org, now it's LibreOffice. Looks very similar to OpenOffice on Windows. Similar theming. This application was cross-platform, ran both on Windows and on Linux. Traceroute. Wow, Traceroute client. So graphical user interface wrapper on top of the Traceroute functionality names the my Traceroute. Quit. So a ton of software. Yes, I would expect a calculator to be shipped. I would expect a character map, a file archiver. I would not expect a PDA Palm Pilot client. I would expect a text editor. I would expect 0 games because you install this software maybe on your company and you don't want your employees to play a ton of games. OpenGL games, Free Civilization, Tux Racer. Wow. And a ton of games, including KD games. Let's see how KD games work on this GNOME. What will we use? There's more than one Mahjong. Okay, Atomic. Different coloring. Different theme. The tabs look similar, the buttons look similar, the scroll bar looks similar, but the color scheme is a bit different. Let's see what version of Qt. Entertainment game. Where do we see the version of packages? Doesn't say. It should say in here, in about here, Atomic. There should be, I don't know, a tab or something in here. In about, probably, yes. In about it says which Qt version, which KD version. Start level. This game about. For workspaces by default and workspace switcher. And then these handles to change a bit the GNOME main panel. System tray. So extremely similar to the default KD layout of the panel at the time. Similar to Xcalc. many GNOME, GTK, Qt, and KDE applications are similar to a predecessor application. Like Kcalc is similar to an existing X application, and GNOME Calc is a application similar to another previously existing X application. But the X applications were written in, I don't know, 10 different toolkits with different keyboard shortcuts and different icons and different splitters and different controls and different theming and different everything. Whereas the KDE applications behave very similar, the same shortcuts, same icon themes, same Qt widgets theme, etc. Okay, let's see another game. A poker, what is that? I didn't know about this one. You, what's me? You won. Wow, I just drew twice and I won a ton of money. Interesting theming for the selected main menu item. Something similar to BOS. Probably K-Help Center is not installed by default. That's why the handbooks do not launch. It's strange that you cannot see the application icon in the main window of the application in the title bar. But also the title bar does not contain the name of the application. That's also very strange. Do you want to save this game? No. Okay, so let's look at the settings. That's it. Okay. Graphics application. So the default image viewer in GNOME 2, EOG, GQ View image viewer. The alternatives to the KDE applications. Digital camera, G-Thumb. XPDF. Maybe events did not exist yet. So that's what both efforts, the KDE desktop and the GNOME desktop, try to do, to replace the pre-existing either open source or open source but using Motif toolkit applications that had X in the name. Applications which did not use any theme, not all of them use Athena, not all of them use XWT, AWT, etc. To replace them with applications which blend really well into the desktop and are similar to each other. So GNOME Calculator says that it's similar to Xcalc. The GIMP, probably a GTK1 application. Oh. First run wizard. This first run wizard is needed because it takes a ton of time to register the fonts. And this was the time when the GIMP application had tool windows, but GNOME did not know that these are tool windows and they're not top level and they should not be presented in the application switcher. Or maybe they should, but I totally don't see why you would have a web browser and just the tool options for rectangular selection on top. When you click on tool options, it should bring up the entire GIMP application. Like, why would you see layers on top of a web browser? Okay, and there was no possibility of docking the tool windows into the main GIMP window. How do we see the settings? Okay, so that's what it is. Red Hat 9, very stable operating system, or not. The Red Hat 8 and Red Hat 9, there used to be rumors that they're not as stable as the Red Hat 7 series. Maybe because of these applying forcefully themes to all of the possible GTK and Qt applications. This was sold as boxed sets with more than 3 CDs. They were sold at grocery stores. They were supported for many years, and it was the default Linux operating system. Everybody used this, both in universities, in enterprises, in businesses, private users at home. When you said Linux, you always said Red Hat Linux, the latest version. So in this case, when people said Linux, they always meant Red Hat 9 Linux. Did you install Linux? Yes. Well, it meant that I have installed the latest version of Red Hat. Why not? Because it was supported by the biggest Linux company. Red Hat employed a ton of software developers. Whatever they did was then released open source. They worked upstream first. It was good to give them your money. They have really good support packages for your enterprise. All of the enterprises that needed a support plan were always using Red Hat. If you were learning Linux in order to then get employed as a sysadmin or a person that uses Linux, then you would want to have Red Hat Linux on your computer at home such that you gain experience. Everybody was using it. Linus Torvalds was using it and then continued to use Fedora, for instance. In my university, it was used everywhere. And then the switch came when the Red Hat company divested and continued to develop the commercial product Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And then Red Hat 9 was continued by Fedora Core 1. And Fedora Core is a Linux operating system that's made by the Fedora community with many full-time employees from Red Hat company. but the life cycle of the Fedora Linux operating system is way shorter, only a few months of support, frequent releases more than once per year, and I'm not sure if there's official support from the Red Hat company, if you can actually buy support for Fedora Linux from the Red Hat company. So then some people switch to Mandrake, some people switch to Fedora core, and then Ubuntu came along, completely free, built by a company, many years of support, and if you wanted, you could actually get free CDs shipped to your home. Thank you.